All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. All right. People just rolling in here, just getting started. Obsolete, you like the new later show? That's good. Bola, what's up? Extra. Put some extra on that. Ringtailed Fox. All right. So people rolling in. Cool. We're live on Substack as well. We are also live on Odyssey as well. If you would like a less censored experience, where is Odyssey? Hello. Here we go. Here we go. But you are welcome to watch wherever you like. We got some people watch on Odyssey. I never know. I think people are kind of getting used to the newer time, so that's good. I think it was a little rough there in the beginning. I hate to change the time on you guys, but all right. Well, it was an exciting, eventful weekend. And the thing that everybody thought was going to happen happened. Maybe not quite in such a decisive way, but people are liking the new time. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. If you like it, I like it. The only thing I like the new time. The only thing I don't like about it is that I'm a little I'm like more fired up and focused earlier in the day. By about this time, I'm slightly winding down in my brain capacity, so I feel a little bit laid back right now. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Good point. It's funny because you have these military operations that are go on for like 20 years. Afghanistan. Oh, we got Osama bin Laden. How long was that in the making? I feel like that was several years, 6 or 7 years in the making. And 40 deaths. So, yeah, I actually thought I saw that there was casualties. But what I'm trying to say is, if they want to get somebody, they can just go get them. If you want to stomp out another country, you can just stomp them out. I mean, we have the capacity. So does Russia, by the way. The the Ukraine thing. At first, I was on the side of we push Russia into it, and now I kind of think like, no, this is all just a play. I think over the last year, I've become convinced that everybody's in on it. Russia and the U.S., they're all in on like, let's have a war. Let's just make it last for years and years. Don't be surprised if Ukraine goes on and on. I mean, it could end. They could be like, okay, that's enough. They've been doing it for a while. But I just don't believe that Russia can't just go in and stomp Ukraine. They absolutely can. The only thing that's holding them back, I guess you could say in that situation, is that the U.S. is so closely tied to backing them. But I actually think it's a bunch of bullshit. Personally, I think the Russia US, I think that we are probably more in a Oceania has always been at war with Eurasia situation, which is China, Russia, and the US are all working together to put a web in place around the entire planet. I don't think that anybody's really going to ever go to war with anybody, not in a real way. And I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong. We could have I don't know. There's somebody on Instagram right now saying like, oh, China is going to step in. Russia's going to step in. They're going to spank the U.S. for going in and to get Maduro. And I'm kind of like, you think? I don't think so. Exactly. Obsolete. Right. So yeah, when you have these things like Afghanistan or Ukraine, or whatever, these long-lasting skirmishes, I think it's all done for the sake of having long-lasting skirmishes. If they really want to take somebody out, they would take somebody out. Who's next, Greenland or Canada? Well, we're going to talk about that. But there's been the who's next has been named apparently. But anyways, you guys already know what went down, but the wild thing, the fact that we just went in, nabbed Maduro with, didn't have to move, a whole bunch of people around, didn't have to drop a whole bunch of bombs. Drop some. Just went in and got him. And Trump is saying we run Venezuela now. Although right now, the vice president is the acting person in command. I've seen several different stories about her. Maduro's in jail in New York over, charges that he'd probably be found guilty of, I guess. You could say they were trumped up, pardon the pun. And the U.S. basically gets full control over lots of oil. Sorry, I need some tea. um, Rubio signaled on Sunday the U.S. doesn't plan to directly govern Venezuela, but will continue to enforce an oil quarantine as part of a plan to influence policy. Yeah. Greenland's prime minister said that's enough now. No more pressure, no more insinuations, no more fantasies of annexation. We are open to dialogue, we're open to discussions, but this must happen through proper channels and with respect for international law, says Greenland's prime minister. Well, going back to the Ukraine thing, you know, for whatever reason, liberals, have been conditioned to hate Putin, and that's going back at least 10 or 12 years. But we don't have any, the libs that hate Putin don't have any historical memory, nor do they understand historical context. So it's just they've been primed to hate Putin and support, Ukraine in the war, which is basically supporting America in the war. So they're on the, totally on the wrong side of that one. But going back to Putin, the idea that, Putin is like Hitler and he's just going to roll over Europe. Who looks more like Hitler in these days and times? The person that's threatening every single country around them to take them over? The person that's actually going in and kidnapping heads of other countries? Who, is Putin running around doing that? No, he's not. Has Putin tried to take anything else other than Ukraine? No, he hasn't. Has Putin ever said he wanted to take anything more than Ukraine, or at least just secure the border? No, he hasn't. It's Trump. It's Trump. Trump is the most Hitler-like in all the land. If you want to find comparisons, which I'm sure liberals will be happy to, would be happy to go, yeah, oh yeah, Trump's totally Hitler, and that he loves Putin. Whatever. So does Hillary Clinton, but you have no historical, acumen. So be quiet, sit down. Right. The deal to sell Russia a bunch of our nuclear material was done through Democrats. So, but liberals don't care about that. They're like, oh no. Ringtail says we hate Putin but love all his okay. I mean, I don't know. The liberal political takes are just so weird and unhinged. Not unhinged, just untethered by context. And so it's annoying to listen to. Iran condemned the attacks, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. Let's go here right quick. So, this is where I saw it. Where did it go? Darn it. I think there are people that were saying that the vice president, I actually saw this article here. Hold on. That the vice president made a deal with the U.S. and sold Maduro out. Again, there's this woman on Instagram saying that the vice president is resisting Trump and all this stuff, and they're gonna get Maduro back. She talks a good game, but I don't know that she's necessarily onto something there. She's getting people excited, to resist the whole thing, which is fine, but I don't know if her takes are actually grounded in reality. Not really sure. So, Delcy Rodriguez is um, sitting in. No, Reuters. How could you? She's assumed the role of acting president. She was sworn in as interim president today after the Supreme Tribunal of Justice ordered her to take on the role. So I don't know. She's actually in charge right now. Is it Consortium News? Maybe they're the ones that had it. I think it was Consortium. Here we go. Did Venezuela VP hand over Maduro and deal with U.S.? Which is totally different from she's in control and she's going to oppose the U.S. and get Maduro back. Totally different. Reports in the Miami Herald and Daily Telegraph in London suggest Vice President Delcy Rodriguez betrayed President Nicolas Maduro to rule Venezuela in an arrangement with the U.S., which, I mean, she is president. Looking kind of, hey, Kate, what's up? Has Canada been named? We're going to get to the countries named in a moment. Gene Whitworth is on Substack. Got a couple of people on Substack. Cannabis rescheduling is going on. Yeah, that's happening. That's happening. I guess it's okay. I don't know. I think a lot of people see it as, I mean, it's fine. It's not a super dangerous drug to me, although, I think people see it as opiating the masses. I don't really care, but I just, as long as people don't go to jail for having marijuana, I'm happier about that. Trump, the U.S. Marco Rubio had a lengthy phone conversation with Rodriguez, and that she was essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Okay. Vaga? No, that would be Mavoga. Venezuela again, great again. I don't know. That's good. 3 candidates a CPUSA ran in November 4 elections this year. 1. All right. That's promising. Doesn't one of them New England states have ranked choice voting now? Or a couple of them have ranked choice voting. Which one is it? Is it New Hampshire? Or Maine? Rodriguez demanded Maduro's release. She delivered a fiery speech denouncing the U.S. attack, insisting Maduro is still Venezuela's legitimate leader. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this shakes out. I don't know. Again, there's a woman saying, like, China's coming. They have ships in the area. They're going to, I'm like, really? You sure? Chuck says, that's it. Humans have their chance. Too many Nazis and shenanigans. Okay. Well, the alleged deal is that the current government stays in power while the U.S. gets Venezuela to reorient away from the China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, and BRICS, and presumably allow U.S. oil companies back in. Well, it's early in the game, and we don't know how this is going to shake out. But it looks like she's the president, and that there's relatively little chaos. I mean, there are people in the streets for sure demanding that Maduro come back. Come on back. But this shouldn't be surprising in the least. And this is just something that the US has done over and over again. With like fancier names and different kinds of propaganda. Trump, at the very least, Trump is just not sugarcoating it too much, just saying, we're gonna we run Venezuela, we're gonna take the oil, we control everything, blah blah blah. I mean, it's not a great message, but it's not a saccharine sack of lies. He's basically telling it like it is. This is a wild clip. Having Trump stand on his plane threatening more regime change operations, including one of the neocons' decade-long crown jewels in Cuba, while Lindsey Graham stands next to him, twitching in glee. Graham is such... These people are demented. These people are absolutely... psychopaths. American Psycho comes to mind. These people are so divorced from... I mean, they're drunk on the power that they have and the power that they wield throughout the world, of course. They're fully in their cups around the power that they wield. But I don't know if they should be quite as giddy. I'm not really sure. Look at Lindsey Graham. He looks like a little boy at Christmas, says Kim.com. He can't hide his neocon orgasm when he hears Trump speak about Cuba. When he looks at the other guy, he's thinking, see, I told you I'd get him to do it. Told you.
One of the things that is happening, I think you see it all the time, Howard, you've seen it, that Cuba is ready to fall. Yes. Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no...
They look ready to fall? What does that even mean? Really? They look ready to fall? I don't think... What are the signs that they're ready to fall other than like we're going to come in and stomp them out? Is that what he means?
Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil, they're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
Marco Rubio.
One of the things that is happening...
So there's been lots of people showing videos of Venezuelans cheering that Maduro's gone. A lot of those have been AI generated or are fake videos from other, other events, and they're being labeled as, look at the Venezuelans cheering him on. I'm going to say right now, the whole, some Venezuelans are happy is just a bunch of bullshit. It's just a bunch of propaganda. It's straight up propaganda. And who put it best? Somebody said, yeah, the only Venezuelans cheering are the ones that benefited from the pre-Chavez imperialism. That the one, the wealthy people in Miami, um, or the people that have something to gain from the U.S. taking control, or those folks, and the people who have been just absolutely propagandized. There are people that were suffering because we sanctioned, the ever living shit out of them, and we pushed their economy into tatters. And so people were suffering because their economy was in tatters, but that wasn't because of Maduro. That was because of the U.S. So sure, there might be some people cheering it on, but that's not like evidence that we did the good thing at all. That's just stuff they're trying to drum up to make it look like, oh, look, wait, democracy. But Trump issues threats against multiple countries following Venezuelan strike. Trump levied a barrage of new threats against various countries following the U.S. operation capturing Venezuelan President Maduro. Trump was not shy when asked about what the strike on Venezuela meant for other countries in the region, including Cuba and Colombia, during his trip back to Washington from Florida on Sunday. Colombia is very sick too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine. Jesus. This is the first time Colombia has had like a left-leaning president in a long time. For a long time, they had very right, U.S.-friendly leadership there. And now Petro is making waves because he's pro-Palestine, anti-U.S. He's, left-leaning. And now they're like, oh, we got this guy. Yes, the last 40 years of Democratic Party candidates is a reflection of opposition, sure. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Anyways. When asked by News Nation's Libby Dean whether the U.S. would embark on a military operation against Colombia, Trump replied, "It sounds good to me." Seriously, if anybody sounds like Hitler, they're just like, yeah, and next we're gonna, we're rolling on. We're gonna roll through Latin America against anybody who stands against us. He's also talking about Mexico. They have to get their act together. You have to do something with Mexico. We're going to have to do something. We'd love Mexico to do it. They're capable of doing it, but unfortunately, the cartels are very strong in Mexico. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. The cartels. Graham said that Cuba's days are numbered. My God. This really is a naked consolidation of power. It's definitely the U.S. just flexing like. I mean, some would argue that we're in the death throes of empire. That we're trying to flex, all the muscle that we can before falling apart or falling into pieces, which may very well be the case. I mean, our economy is about to implode. And I don't know how you keep all that, if your economy is in tatters, which would pretty much wipe out the global economy. If the American economy went down, it would have repercussions everywhere. Then it just gets, things get dicier for empire. But again, I don't know. I am more and more these days of the position that all of these leaders are working together. There really isn't any daylight between any of these countries. Sure, do they all have? We have superpowers with lots of weapons and military capability. Like in case one of them flipped the script and decided, like, oh, today is the day that we come try to knock everybody out. I mean, sure, but I think it's more likely that they're all working together to make sure that they're going to stomp out any resistance to a global control grid. Why don't you just pack it in and give up? Okay. I don't know, man. Why not? Sounds like a good time. I've lost 90% of my brain. Okay. um and he's talking about Greenland. So yeah, he's just everybody's everybody's in the crosshairs apparently. So we have Mexico, Greenland, Colombia, and Cuba. Okay. Great. All right. Lots of people over on Substack. Sorry, I was missing these. It's a major boost to your immune system. Cannabis. Okay. Okay. We feeling surly, Mr. Wizard? It's all right. I was feeling pretty surly this weekend. um Oh, switching back to this article. Yesterday, Rodriguez changed her tune. We invite the U.S. government to collaborate with us on an agenda of cooperation oriented towards shared development. Jesus Christ. Within the framework of international law. Blah. It's just always like, oh, how about international law? But we don't give a shit about international. We just we flout whatever you want to do. We just completely ignore international law whenever it suits us. But but as soon as the deed is done, it's like, well, we're going to do everything under the guise of international law. So, guys, come on. It's going to be great. Right? Ring-tailed fox, yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do with all the brown people, huh? I ask you. Nick Cruz pointing out something that I keep saying and something I think is true. He's talking about Nick Fuentes and the entire fake Zionist controlled populist right are massively out of touch with the American people. Right. The American people want an end to U.S. imperialism. And I would say that this number is low. Unsure. 30% are unsure. Yeah, this 47%, I would say it's more like 80%. I'd say I'm sorry, can't see it. Most people are not okay with this. The vast majority are not okay with this. We may debate about the actual percentage point or whatever, but I'm telling you, I think 50% is low. Or if they're showing 50%, it's got to be way higher than that. Somebody do a Twitter poll real quick. Who opposes the U.S. military adventurisms in Venezuela? I bet that shit is like 96-1. Like immediately, and then we'll have to take this down. A lot of people are saying that, oh, Israel had something to do with it. It was because he was anti-Israel. Sure. Are they a catalyst for this? I don't think. Sure, they're in there somewhere, but like, there was a lot of over the last week or two. There was like a rising kind of tide of people saying it's Israel. They're doing it. And I'm like, no. I mean, the Monroe Doctrine has been pretty well established for quite a while. Israel or no Israel, it's the same people, but like it's whatever. The people that run the Israel show run the America show, and they're all in the same show, and they're all it's the same producers, whoever that might be. So I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of a like, okay, fine, or whatever. Sure, if that's if you want to throw that in the mix too. But it wasn't like Israel said he had to go, so we got him out of there. No, I don't think that was it. They have the same idea, sown an ideology more dangerous than Nazism. They justify raids, extermination, genocide, and atomic bombs. They'll come for the Christians and the Catholics. He's talking about Israel.
Ahora los racistas y supremacistas del sionismo hoy quieren acabar con el pueblo palestino. Y digo más, quieren acabar con todo el pueblo árabe, con todo el pueblo musulmán. Han sembrado una ideología del odio, de la racia. La han sembrado durante 75 años con el apoyo de Occidente. Atención, mundo bueno que me escucha. Atención, hombres y mujeres de los Estados Unidos, de Europa y del mundo.
Gene says,
han sembrado una ideología más peligrosa que la nazi.
Yeah, yep, that's true. Gene says you'd be a fool to believe anything from U.S. polling. I mean, I think that U.S. polling can give you some insight, right? Get you in the ballpark, right? If you can read between the lines, of the polls, then you might, it's all context, right? It's like weighted, if you know where to weight the numbers, then you could get a better idea. It's got like inflation. Although it just every time somebody talks about the actual inflation numbers that they're putting out there, I hear like market guys, economy guys talking about, well, inflation's at 3%, and every time I'm just like, it just hurts my brain to have people just give these numbers out like they're facts. I'm like, you can't. I hope you're not operating on that. I mean, yeah, so that's the official number, and maybe some things in the economy might operate on the official number, maybe. But when you put these things out there, it's just like, inflation is 3%. You mean 300%? In the last 3 years, 4 years, 200-300% easily on so many things. 100% easily on so many things. Ain't no 3% on nothing. Zero. We're not even, if you want to actually be in the, if you want to be conservative, I'd say inflation is like 40%. Conservatively, 40%. So when people say bullshit, 3, 8, no, nope, 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 nothing is nothing. Rent, groceries, gas, nothing is even close to 3% or even 10%. So it boggles my mind and makes me a little bit angry when people just blip out, belch out these numbers like they're real. Come on, man. Come on. You can't even okay. Don't get me started. I ain't. You get my ulcer acting up. I have to drink a whole bottle of Pepto-Bismol. Anyways. Yeah, a friend of mine posted the other day, and I've talked about this too. Exactly the same thing. He like puts, has a cup, the can of coffee that he drinks. He's like, this was $5.99 a year ago, and now it's $10.99. And I was like, yep. The coffee I was drinking a year ago was $3.99, and then I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, it was like $6.99, and then it was $9.99. I was like, that shit is over 100%. Over 100%. The particular brand that I was drinking, over 100% at some of the stores I was at. Talking about 3%. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. Okay. Real quick, we're gonna slide on over and talk about the king tides in Northern California that caused a bunch of flooding. King tides, again, for the climate confused. There are certain words that you hear more and more and more these days: atmospheric river, king tides, extreme weather events, 1,000-year floods, etc., etc. You don't hear them more because people are trying to pump them into the news. They're actually happening. These events are actually occurring. They're not. This isn't like we're trying to pump up the volume on the climate fear. No, they're not. It's actually happening. King tides in Northern California. They're happening more and more often. You hear about it all the time because it's happening all the time. Pepto, vodka, and Alka-Seltzer? Heck yeah. Sounds like a cocktail to me. Heavy rain and high tides, believed to be the most severe in 2 decades, caused flooding in parts of Northern California on Saturday, prompting road closures and rescues of people trapped in cars. Roadways through a 15-mile stretch from Sausalito area to San Rafael were flooded after a downpour coincided with record-breaking king tides. What keeps flooding out Miami several times a year? King tides. What keeps washing out King Cam Highway and Oahu all the time in Hawaii? King tides. And they're happening all the time, right? These are things that are supposed to be rare, but they're happening like several times a year, even in California. Balboa Island, Ventura, all over the place, all along the coast. We have king tides hitting the coast several times a year. When in the past it was, once every, decade maybe. anyways, king tides coming to a coastline near you. Burger King tides. Yeah. Silver. Let's talk about silver. Silver is actually in the discussion. I know we've been talking a lot about this, but it's been kind of a wild ride for the metals markets. And the big news over the weekend was that I actually need to hold on. There was something I forgot to check out here. What I heard was that there was almost a bank failure. Here we go. Major U.S. bank blows up from silver trade. Headlines hide the $675 million margin shock currently hitting traders. So they were trying to apparently squash or short the price of silver to keep it from going too crazy. And I'm sure upset, because at some point you start really messing with people's positions in the market when stuff like this goes parabolic. And they're trying to keep some semblance of stability going on in the financial markets. A systematically important U.S. bank, a silver margin call liquidation by the exchange in the middle of the night. The Federal Reserve allegedly forced to pump billions into the system, and the bank's name was concealed. Let's see. The major U.S. bank liquidated at 2:47 a.m. Claim the trail goes cold fast. On the day the new, here we go. The CME raised silver margins. CME Clearing did raise margin requirements for metals, including silver, effective after the close of business on December 29th, 2025. And it's so explicitly as a per the normal review of market volatility. If you want the cleanest version, CME also posted the same changes in a PDF advisory. That margin move landed into a market that was already acting feral. CME's own silver page showed its volatility gauge, the silver C-vol at 81.7 as of late December 28, a level that basically screams big swings are priced in. On the day the new requirement hit, silver fell hard. The Economic Times reported an 11% intraday drop on COMEX and tied it directly to profit taking after the CME margin hike, noting that March 2026 contract margin rose by about $3,000 from 22 to around 25 in their coverage. All of that is real. If a big clearing member actually failed to meet a CME margin call and got taken out by the clearinghouse, there's a lot that would have to happen in the open, even if it looks opaque from the outside. Anyways, in plain, it doesn't mean every detail becomes a headline. It means a midnight liquidation story has to fight against a whole ecosystem of compliance, reporting, and operational procedure. So anyways, let's see. I just heard about this on another site. And I wanted to kind of bring it into the discussion a little bit because apparently a bank failed after a silver margin call and got and got bailed out. All undercover and stuff. Let's see. When silver starts ripping, margins jump, prices snap back hard, and someone posts a screenshot about a major bank being vaporized. But they've already been pumping. You know, the repo markets have been being shored up by the billions in the last few weeks. They're printing money again in the last few weeks, in the last month, which is very, you know, insidery signals that something is amiss, that something is, you know, the foundation is not steady. The Fed is announcing that it is buying short-dated Treasury bills. That's as of December 10th. So there are lots of signals that there's, you know. So, anyways, the other thing about silver is that in the last few days, people have been reporting that it's different prices in different countries. That it was above 100 all the way to, I think it was like 113, 115 in China. So in several countries, Japan was 103. Here it's been, you know, pushed down to almost 70, which is leading a lot of people. That's also signaling something is wrong, because there's all these different prices for actual physical metal, and our markets have the, you know, paper, the ETFs priced in, which they use to help keep the price down. But the premiums on silver are wildly they're usually around maybe $2 to $5, and now they're about $15. So like, they're saying that the spot price is 77 or whatever it is, 76, but they're actually charging up to like $90 for an ounce here. So the price is 77, but if you want to buy it, the price is 90 right here. So there is really wacky, wild stuff going on. So we'll look at this real quick. Silver is decoupling from reality. Paper price $72.50. Physical price $80 to $130. Orders backed up until the end of January. Banks are short billions, so they're suppressing the paper price to avoid a huge loss. But the vaults are empty. It's GameStop 2.0. The system is cracking. So they're showing at JM's bullion. This was January 1st. Look at the premiums, up to $130 for an ounce of silver that at the time was in the 70s. That's insane. That is insane. And then I went to go look up myself on JM. Right now they've kind of come down to under $10 ish. They're saying the silver is 77, and the premiums are showing 84. Well, 84 up to like 90. So they've come down a little bit, but that is freaking wild. Up to 95 actually. So no, forgive me. Actually, more like $20. So what is the actual price of silver? Nobody knows. Yeah, no, I know. Ring tilt. Yeah, I remember when it was $15. Not that long ago. It was $15 like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And the fact that it's, geez, Over $100 almost. But this actually is signaling some very, very large cracks in the system. And I know I talked about this on Friday. I know I keep talking about this, but I am just pointing out something that I think that everybody should be aware of, that stuff like this going on right now is signaling some on top of the oil, the great Venezuelan oil ripoff. Less than 24 hours after U.S. military pressure escalated in Venezuela, something far more telling happened. The infrastructure was already in place. The United States quietly locked in a strategic silver smelter deal designed to process up to $1 trillion in Latin American precious metals, including Venezuelan supply. Let that sink in. An $8 billion state-of-the-art facility jointly backed by Wall Street Capital and the U.S. Department of Defense. Bros. Bros. That's a lot. The Department of Defense is behind this. This shows you how very, very important this is. This isn't about invasion. This is about control, security, and price discovery of physical metals moving out of unstable regions, refining brought back to under U.S. oversight, paper markets losing influence, strategic metals secured for energy, defense, and AI. When governments build first and explain later, it's not speculation, it's preparation. Holy shnikes. Wild stuff, y'all. Really wild. We'll see. This could be a very, very interesting year. Indeed. All right. Now that we've all got caught up, if you want to support the show, y'all, there are ways to do it in the description box of whatever channel you're watching on. You know what to do. It's lots of links. All the usuals are there: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, etc., Zelle. And many of you support the show on the regular. You know who you are. I appreciate you. So I will be back on. I have a feeling this week might actually get weirder. I don't know. I don't really want it to get any weirder. I would like this week to just stay just slightly just boring, nondescript, typical ho-hum. But maybe not. Let's get really wacky, y'all. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for chiming in. Gene says, not to mention the Federal Reserve digital push button money is all that's running the entire country's expenses. Yeah. We Americans have zero control over it. Yeah. Well, that actually points to why silver is doing what it's doing, is that clearly people have lost faith in our current fiat system. And Korea says, I told you. Yeah, so it could get kind of bumpy out there. Just beware. You know, do what you got to do. Do your best. Find some community, and we've got a good little community here. People, like-minded people. Hell, if you're not even like-minded, you know, if you need to talk about something, get it off your chest or whatever, this is a good place to do it. But yeah, you know, we will be back on Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So same time. Chuck says, I warned you once, I warned you twice. Next time I'll warn you, not going to be nice. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the F out of here. All right, y'all. I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your night. And until next time, beware the bear.